Hi everyone, I've been lurking on this sub for 6 months, reading other people's stories. They helped me feel less alone in the hell my life turned into. I finally decided to write my own, just to get it off my chest. Maybe someone here will see the red flags that I missed. Or maybe someone will just tell me I'm not crazy. Because for the last few months, that's exactly what I've been feeling, like I'm going insane. My name is Kyle. I'm 38. I live in Austin, Texas. By profession, I'm an architect, specializing in sustainable, green, building design. It's a job that requires creativity, precision, and, as I used to think, the ability to understand people. For the last 15 years, I was married to a woman named Chloe, 37. We met when we were 22, at a friend's college party. She was smart, beautiful, witty, and, as I believed, my soulmate. We didn't have a perfect life, but we had a good life. A house in the suburbs with a small workshop for me, 2 dogs, rescues, a golden retriever named Louie and a mutt named Bella, stable incomes. We traveled a lot, loved hiking and spending time with friends. We didn't have kids. At first, we postponed it, wanted to live for ourselves, then careers took over, and then, a couple of years ago, Chloe said she probably wasn't ready and, actually, maybe kids just weren't for her. I was disappointed, but I accepted it. I loved her and our life the way it was. But the center of this story isn't just Chloe. The center of this story is Ethan. Ethan, 39, is my best friend. We've known each other since we were 5. Grew up in neighboring houses, went to the same kindergarten, the same school. We weren't just friends, we were brothers. When my parents got divorced when I was 14, I lived with him and his mom for almost a month. When Ethan's dad died, I held his hand at the funeral. He was the best man at my wedding. He was the guy the first would have trusted with my life. He worked as a financial advisor, was single, always in a good mood, the life of the party. Ethan and Chloe always got along too. Maybe too well, as I realize now. But back then, I was just happy that the 2 most important people in my life clicked. The 3 of us hung out constantly. When Ethan needed to go somewhere, Chloe often helped him organize his trips. She worked for a travel agency remotely. When Chloe's car battery died, Ethan would rush over with jumper cables. I thought, man, I am so lucky. The first red flag rang about 2 years ago. The 3 of us were at a bar, celebrating Ethan's birthday. I went to the bathroom, and when I was coming back, I noticed Chloe, laughing, straightening his collar. It was such an intimate gesture. It lasted a second, but I remembered it. That evening at home, I mentioned it to Chloe, trying not to sound accusatory, just observant. Oh, don't start, Kyle, she rolled her eyes. Ethan's collar was flipped up, it was visible from a mile away. You know he's like a child with things like that. Besides, we were talking about how he needs to find a girlfriend, and I was just showing him how important it is to look neat. I swallowed it. I'm not a paranoid person, after all. The second red flag came last year. We were planning our annual trip to Big Bend National Park. Ethan and I had always done this together, since our teenage years. But this time, Chloe announced she wanted to come too. You 2 are always off on your little manly adventures, she said with a smile. I want rocks and a campfire too. Ethan, of course, supported her. The more, the merrier. On that trip, she acted strangely. She constantly stayed close to Ethan. Hiked with him while I brought up the rear with the heavy pack. Sat with him by the campfire while I gathered firewood. I chalked it up to her just wanting to be part of our guy tradition. But I remember one night specifically. I woke up cold around 3 a.m. Chloe's sleeping bag next to me was empty. I crawled out of the tent and saw them. They were sitting on a big rock about 30 yards from camp. It was dark, but the moonlight outlined their silhouettes. They were sitting very close together, almost touching heads, talking quietly. I called out to them. They turned, and Chloe laughed. Couldn't sleep, she said, walking back. Ethan woke up too. We were just talking about the stars and random stuff. Sorry, did we wake you? I felt like an idiot for the pang of jealousy. It was just Ethan. About a year before the divorce, everything started to change. Chloe became more irritable with me. She didn't like the way I chewed, the way I breathed, the way I left the light on in my workshop. Constant little nitpicking. Yet, around Ethan, she blossomed. She laughed at his jokes, listened intently to his work stories, asked his advice about remodeling the bathroom. He gave advice, I did it differently, and she didn't talk to me for a week. I tried to talk to Ethan about it. One-on-one, like old times. Ethan, do you notice Chloe's been a bit crazy lately? I feel like she can't stand me anymore. He clapped me on the shoulder, like he always did when I had problems. Dude, you're just overworked. You're having a 7-year itch, just late. Buy her flowers, take her to a restaurant. Pull her out of the routine. She loves you. You guys are just stuck in a rut. I bought flowers, went to a restaurant, suggested a spontaneous trip to New Orleans. The effect was zero. She brushed it off, said she was tired. The climax came suddenly. 6 months ago. I came home from work early. Chloe had a meeting with clients downtown and was supposed to be back later. I decided to make dinner as a surprise. I was getting ingredients out and realized we were out of soy sauce for the marinade. I went into Chloe's office, which used to be our guest room, to get her tablet and look up a better recipe. I never went through her stuff. Never. The tablet was on the desk. The screen lit up, and I saw an open app, her email. I wasn't going to read it, I just wanted to open the browser. But my eyes caught the last email in her inbox. Sender: Ethan. Subject: no subject. The text was short. Tonight at 7? I miss you. He'll be at work until 9, right? I froze. I read it 10 times. He'll be at work until 9. I was always at work until 9 on that day because I had meetings on Thursdays. I scrolled to the previous emails in the thread. There were hundreds, going back years. My heart stopped, then dropped into my stomach. I started reading. I read their correspondence for 2 hours. Until she came home, I couldn't stop. It was like watching a train wreck. You can't look away. I found out their affair had been going on for at least 3 years. That collar incident at the bar, they were already together. That Big Bend trip, they were waiting for me to fall asleep so they could be alone. But the worst, the most monstrous thing, wasn't just the affair. In their emails, there were plans. Not just plans for dates. Plans for life. They discussed how to prepare me for the divorce. How to make me feel guilty. The strategy Chloe had been following for the last year. The nitpicking, the coldness, the withdrawal. It was all scripted in their conversations. Chloe. He left a dish in the sink again today. I almost snapped, but I remembered your advice. Let it build up. Soon he'll believe himself that he's a worthless husband. Ethan. Patience, babe. A few more months, and he'll suggest the divorce himself when he realizes you've fallen out of love with him. We need to make it look like his decision, or just inevitable. But there was also a plan for life after the divorce. They planned for Ethan to move to Austin. He currently lived in Dallas, 3 hours away. They discussed how they'd sell our house and buy a new one together. How Chloe could finally travel with him, not with me. How they'd get a dog. One email from Ethan shattered me completely. Chloe was writing to him about her doubts, feeling sorry for me, saying I was a good person. Ethan replied, "Don't you dare feel sorry for him. You deserve happiness. We deserve it, Kyle." Kyle is just a stepping stone. He introduced us. He gave us time to get to know each other. He fulfilled his function. Don't feel guilty. That's life. The strong take what they want. I was sitting in her chair when I heard the front door open. Chloe walked in. She saw me with the tablet. She saw my face. She didn't even need to ask what happened. She knew from my look. For a few seconds, we just stared at each other. Then she sighed. Not with resignation, not with tears, but with a sigh of relief. She tucked her hair behind her ear and said a phrase I will remember for the rest of my life. Well, good. Now we don't have to lie anymore. I couldn't speak. I just looked at her. At the woman I'd lived with for 15 years. Who swore love and fidelity to me. Who was my best friend. And I saw a complete stranger. A cold, distant person. You really think of me as a stepping stone? I asked, my voice hoarse. She crossed her arms. Kyle, don't be dramatic. You're a nice guy, boring, predictable, but nice. Ethan and I are meant for each other. We always had a connection. From the first day I introduced you to. Sorry if that sounds harsh, but that's life. We didn't want to hurt you, but that's how it turned out. Didn't want to hurt me? I stood up, gripping the tablet so hard it creaked. You fucked behind my back for 3 years. You planned how to destroy my self-esteem. He wrote that I fulfilled my function. Chloe sighed, as if I were a whining child. You just don't understand our feelings. And yes, we discussed it. We wanted you to come to the divorce yourself, to suffer less. It was merciful. Merciful. She called it merciful. I kicked her out that same night. Told her to take only the essentials and go to her Ethan. She went to a friend's place, saying she'd go to Ethan after things settled down. I stayed in the house alone with Louie and Bella, who didn't understand why Daddy was crying and why Mommy left. Comment from Op: Kyle, thanks for the support, everyone. I know many will say, get a lawyer, clean her out. That's what I did. The next morning, I called the nastiest divorce lawyer I could find. And then things got really interesting. I'll tell you about it in part 2. Spoiler. I did something before she left. And that something turned the game around. So, it's been 6 months. I'm sitting in my new apartment, had to sell the house, too many memories, Louie is passed out on my feet, Bella is chewing her toy. I'm still picking up the pieces. But the process is moving. And you know what helped the most? What I did that night, after Chloe left. After the door closed behind her, I didn't just sit and cry, though I did that too. I turned on my computer. I was running on adrenaline. Rage and pain gave me incredible mental clarity. I remembered everything I'd read on this sub. Stay calm, gather evidence, don't let them fool you. Chloe, in her haste, had left her laptop. It was in the living room, open. She thought I'd be too grief-stricken to think straight? Maybe, but I thought straight. I copied all her email correspondence with Ethan. All the letters from years back. I took screenshots of their messenger chats, the ones I could access. She was still logged into Telegram on the computer. I found photos they'd sent each other, intimate photos she took for him while she was my wife. Photos from trips where they were together while I thought she was with her parents or girlfriends. I dumped everything onto 3 different flash drives, into the cloud, and sent a copy to my other best friend, not Ethan, Mark, with a note saying, open in case of my death. I became a digital detective, and it saved my life. The lawyer, Mr. Garcia, when I came to him with a folder of printouts and a laptop, let out a low whistle. Mr. Bennett, he said, adjusting his glasses. You've just turned a complicated divorce proceeding in Texas into a formality. With evidence like this, we can ask for everything. Texas is a state where infidelity can affect asset division, especially if community funds were spent on the lover. But the main thing was, it gave me leverage. We filed for divorce. Chloe, apparently, thought I'd be a gentleman and we'd split everything 50-50, as is standard in a marriage with no kids. She sent an offer through her lawyer. Sell the house, split the accounts, she takes the car and half my retirement savings. Mr. Garcia's response was brief. He sent them the first 10 pages of the printed correspondence, the parts discussing the plan for my moral destruction and her affair. Silence for 3 days. Then Chloe's lawyer called back. The tone of the conversation had changed drastically. In the end, we reached a settlement out of court. Chloe got nothing of what she could have claimed. The house stayed with me. I bought out her share at a minimal valuation. She was so scared of court she agreed. My retirement savings stayed with me. She got her car and personal belongings. She tried to ask for alimony. In Texas, it's possible even without kids in exceptional cases. But her lawyer told her that with this portfolio of evidence, she'd better just sign the papers and be glad her name wasn't published in the local paper. Yes, that was a threat, just for leverage, but it worked. The divorce was finalized 4 months ago. But the story doesn't end there. As they say, revenge is a dish best served cold. Or, in my case, it's served on social media and at the workplace. Ethan, my ex-best friend, I didn't write him angry letters. I didn't call and yell. I simply sent a package of documents to his employer. Ethan worked for a large financial corporation in Dallas. A finance position requires a certain level of trust and moral standing. In his correspondence with Chloe, they didn't just discuss their relationship. They discussed how he used insider information from his clients to give Chloe investment tips. This was a side effect. I was reading everything and stumbled on it. Small schemes, but enough for the compliance department to get interested. I sent an anonymous letter to HR and compliance. Attached screenshots, with dates and amounts. 2 weeks later, a mutual acquaintance texted me. Heard about Ethan? He got fired. Something about violating company policy. He's furious, looking for a job, but no one will take him. Heard his references are terrible. His career as a financier in big corporations is probably over forever. But the best part was yet to come. A month ago, I ran into a mutual friend, Steve. Steve was having a beer at a bar I stopped into after work. We got to talking. I knew Steve was still in touch with Ethan, or was. You know they split up, right? Steve asked, looking into his mug. I nearly choked. What do you mean? They were dreaming of being together. Steve chuckled. Dreaming, yeah, but when reality hit, Chloe moved in with him in Dallas right after you kicked her out. They lived together, shall we say, not so great. He's unemployed, she's broke, because you left her with nothing, which I congratulate you for. She was used to a certain standard of living, your house, garden, travel. And here she is in his rented one-bedroom with no prospects. The fight started. She nagged him for being an idiot, for losing his job, for ruining her life. He nagged her for screwing up the divorce, for her blabbing in emails that cost him everything. Classic stuff. Lasted about 3 months. Now, I hear she's back in Austin, renting some apartment in the suburbs. Alone. Heard she's back in travel, but her old connections are gone. I sat there, processing this information. My cheating wife, who thought I was a boring stepping stone, and my traitor friend, who thought he was strong, had destroyed each other. Without any further action from me, I just removed the foundation, money and career, and their ivory tower collapsed on its own. You think I felt schadenfreude? At first, yeah, there was a deep, dark satisfaction. Justice prevailed, but then came emptiness and sadness, not for them, for those 15 years that turned out to be a lie, for a friendship that never existed. A week ago, Chloe texted me. I haven't deleted it, I keep it as a reminder. Chloe. Kyle, hi. I know I shouldn't write. Just want to say you were right, and I was terrible. You didn't deserve what we did. Ethan showed his true colors. I'm left alone. I feel really bad. Maybe someday we could have coffee and talk? I miss our conversations. I read that message about 5 times. Our conversations. She misses conversations with the guy she considered a stepping stone. I imagined having coffee with her, and it almost made me throw up. Not from anger. From disgust. I didn't reply. And I won't. I checked her social media profile, it was public. She looks older, gaunt. Posts quotes about inner strength and how some people are incapable of real love. The irony. As for me, I'm in therapy. I have a good psychologist who helps me understand that I wasn't boring and wasn't the cause of her cheating. The problem was them, their selfishness and moral blindness. I've started designing again, took on several complex, interesting projects. I've started running in the mornings again. I spend time with Louie and Bella. Last week, for the first time in a long time, I went camping. Alone, sat by the fire, listened to the owls, drank whiskey, and felt peace. I didn't have to look over my shoulder, didn't have to listen for whispers, didn't have to search for them in the dark. I don't know if I'll be ready for another relationship. For now, I'm enjoying the silence. And the freedom. My advice to anyone reading: trust your intuition. If something feels off, it probably is. Watch actions, not words. And keep your evidence in a safe place. It might be your only protection when your world turns upside down. Thanks for listening. This was the longest post of my life. I hope no one ever needs to go through this, but if it helps even one person see the red flags in time, I'll be glad. Update. The dogs are fine, all good. Louie recently found an old tennis ball on a walk and was as happy as a clam. Bella learned how to open the kitchen cabinet with her paw where her treats are. Life goes on.